You've heard of the golden horn of plenty, traditional symbol of prosperity and of good things bestowed upon mankind.
Got a pretty good job. It's hard work, rough hours sometimes, but when you're through, you've done something. Something's moved.
I'm on the go all the time, you know. I'm not got a shift from 8 to 4 every day, and I know that's where I'm going to be today, tomorrow, and the next day, and I like to be on the move.
A whole lot of people don't realize what a man's got to go through to work on a railroad.
We don't have the best job in the world. We're out in all kinds of weather, and we work under all kinds of conditions.
They just got a whole lot of hardships to go through with.
We got on a car and started shoving to North Dallas, and it was freezing. And we shoved 5 miles, and when we got off the top of the car, our clothes was froze.
Cold, hot, sleet, snow, rain, don't make sunshine, don't make no difference. Man, you have to be there. If you don't be there and be at the right place at the right time, it's just too bad.
What makes railroad men different is because they feel that they're individuals. You make a trip or you do a shift in the yard, there's nobody there, a foreman right on top of that. And when you're finished your shift or your trip, you feel, well, okay, I've done what I'm supposed to do and I've gone home.
The job makes you feel as if you're an independent individual. You like change, you like to be doing something different all the time, working at different hours.
Well, I started on the Great Northern in Havre, Montana, about 14 years ago. I worked 3 summers for Canadian Pacific on wheat rushes out in the prairie. And then I quit railroading for about a year. And then after I came down from California, I couldn't hire out there. I came over to Arizona and started with Santa Fe, and I've been here ever since. I like it. This is my main reason for being here, and I like this part of the country primarily. Oh, I just plan to stay about a month and make one good check, and I've been here ever since. That's the damn truth.
Come on, I got 2.
Well, you got 12.
They've got a common bind, something that brings you together.
Yeah, we spend a lot of lonely hours together away from home waiting for the next freight back. And we don't even get paid for it.
Yes, something to talk about. You have something in common.
There's only one thing a railroad man wants to talk about. That's railroading.
Well, he was in the middle of changing clothes, and all he had on was his long underwear. So he decided, well, would nobody see him, so he'd just hop off of the caboose and line the switch in his long underwear. Well, the passenger train came by, and he was so big that we went right on through the pass, and he couldn't catch the caboose. And we left him in this country. Left him come out in the country in his underwear. Closer this conductor would get to his caboose to get on, faster the train went. When the train caboose went by this conductor, well, he was going so fast he couldn't get on. And he was hollering at this brakeman. He said, don't leave me, don't leave me. He's wanting him to pull the air on the train, you know. Well, instead of the brakeman pulling the air, he just bailed off and stayed with him. Well, he didn't leave him. He just bailed off and stayed right there with him.
I defy any man to work on a railroad and not look at an old-time steam engine and not feel a kind of a nostalgia for what was, and there's a sort of a thrill to it all, you know.
You used to have to stand up in those old steam engines all the time, and you just stand there and you just shake. You just shake your insides out of you. That's the way it was. That's exactly the way it was.
You kind of got that smell of that cinders and the smoke the way they start off, and the huffing and the puffing, and I mean, you felt like you were doing a man's job.
I miss the whistle on the steam engines. They were a lot more colorful than the air whistle that we have on the diesel. Practically all the old-timers, they had I think a lot different way of blowing the whistle. Each one of them kind of had his own way of pulling the whistle. It was a beautiful sound, especially in the early morning when the sun was just rising. And as we used to make the comment, some of the old boys could play a tune on that whistle, you know, and it was colorful. And I think we have lost something about it. I think it had its place in life.
These people in the freight yard, they didn't have the business that we had in the passenger service, and all of a sudden, in about 10 years, it changed. We lost so much business, and the work so declined that here we were in the reverse. We were trying to affiliate with them.
On some railroads, you'll find that they do give you this good service and are interested in passenger business, but as a whole, not any of them interested in it anymore. All a railroad really has to offer is service, and if they don't give good service, why, they don't get the business. And those that do go by train and like to travel by train, they have a hard time making connections, and their personnel isn't the best in the world. When you go up to buy a ticket or when you get on a train, you might get some old grouchy conductor that thinks he owns the railroad, which he don't own one bit of it.
Well, they the other day in the paper said they have 15 trains going and coming in the terminal now, and we used to have 86 or 88 back in those days.
Well, they discontinued them at the old Erie Depot. Well, now, you're tour duty now, you have to switch the mail hall and 26th Street.
Yeah. Our shed is the biggest job. No, the mail hall is very easily satisfied.
That's so.
Not much switching there, very easily satisfied, and they don't worry about the mail like they used to. When we started, they used to worry about the mail being on, but they don't worry anymore. You can put it in there whenever you feel like it.
I recently had occasion to go through the depot, and my observation was sort of upsetting. In fact, it was startling. I'd been away from there for a couple of years, and while going through the coach yard, especially where there had always been so much activity, I noticed that many of the tracks had been taken up. Small repair shops, machine shop and so forth, those were all abandoned. The whole thing seemed to be in a state of disrepair. On number 9 track, there was 9 or 10 dining cars, and the thought occurred to me, good Lord, business must be picking up. And then I observed that the numbers had been marked out. They were no longer in service, probably being shipped for scrap or sold to some Latin American country for their services.
There's nothing left today. 5, 6 years ago, I had so many cars in that coach there when I was on that job that I'd have to take cars out of there, grab a track load, run them up on the lead to make room for cars coming out of the depot, to make room in the depot for cars that were coming in off of trains. I've got so much room today, I don't know where the hell to do it.
Whether they want to do away with the place or not, why, that's what we don't know.
We don't understand it. We can't figure out why. We're switchmen. We don't run this railroad. We just don't know where in the hell the cars are going to, where the trains are going to.
The railroads, it seemed like they decided at some point there was more money to be made hauling things and hauling people. And then and there, it seemed like they just decided to hell with people, you know. Johnny and me seen the handwriting on the wall, and we got out a passenger.
Back on 16, go back 3 to 2. Over hunger.
Those trains, they don't put themselves together, not by a long shot.
When we go to work, we know we give them a good 8 hours work. And then they've called us feather bedders and put a big campaign on and had the Madison Avenue boys publicize it until we have a hard time living down that name. Everybody you meet calls you a feather bedder, and it always rubs the fur the wrong way.
You go home and you say, well, I didn't have to do too much today, and this is what the public thinks, that you don't do anything and you're getting paid all this money for doing nothing. I think we've gone too long accepting the fact that we're unskilled labor, because once we're trained, we're not unskilled, because you don't learn it in 6 months. You don't learn it in a year.
Funny thing, you're useless until it comes up time to strike the railroads. And all of a sudden, the government discovers you're so almighty important, the country can't run without you, and wham, injunction.
They should stop and think about the millions of dollars that the railroad spent advertising feather bedding and educating the general public against the railroad man, which lowered his character, not only in the light of the layman out here that doesn't understand railroad work, but in your own neighborhoods where you used to be known as Mr. Lucas or Mr. King or Mr. Henriksen or Mr. Benningfield, even the least kid in the neighborhood, holler, there comes old feather bedder.
Anybody knows that you can get more work done with 3 men than you can with 2 men, and it is a much safer practice with 3 men.
Well, look at it right now. You got no firemen. There's no firemen on the side. So how are you gonna pass signals to the hoghead unless you got a man on the leading car and you're on the top of the other car? You can't do it.
Yes, more men, so you can relay signals.
I was walking across the top in the dark, checking for handbrakes, and I started to step across. There was no catwalk. The roof of the car was smooth and frosty, and I slipped and fell. I could have gone right off the top of the car on the ground and got hurt.
Well, you get damn badly hurt.
The day that I came off, I just about killed myself, too.
I saw you in the East End there, flat on his back. Came down like that, right down on his back.
I mean, the job's fine, but not to get hurt over.
That's a long way down.
There isn't a man on the railroad that hasn't come close to dying. More than once.
They preach safety, but just see how much safety there is in the yard. It is a death trap. You could kill yourself at any instant.
Got some slow orders down here we got to keep tab on. We We got a slow order down there at that 73.
Well, and if they ever get that overpass finished down there, getting tired of slowing down for them.
And then we got that slow order down there at 10:30 a.m. between milepost 104 and milepost 103.
Okay.
How about it, Jenner? I believe we got a little smoke over here on my side. Why don't you look over there? It might be blowing over your side now. It disappeared here. Yeah, got a little smoke. That smells like a hot box to me. I don't know where it's hot box or where it's a big stick. But we better stop and inspect it. Come in, 1362.
1362.
Howard, let's stop now. We got a hot box up here, about 3 cars ahead of the caboose over here. So smell that thing. Doctor this thing, and then I think we can go on in, okay?
Oh, okay, Tommy.
They got these hot box detectors, see? And they're supposed to be automatic. But, just the same, you better keep your eye open, because you don't want a derailment caused by hot boxes that didn't get automatically detected.
We'll pour water on it. I hate to pour water on it, but we're going to have to cool it down a little bit or it ain't going to go. Here's the hook right here. Let's get some water until there.
We do have a dangerous job, and it used to be where if you were a switchman, you had to pay a higher rate of insurance than pretty near anybody else, and that's why the B of RT started their own insurance, so that the men could have insurance without paying this high rate.
Officers and members of WA Ring Lodge number 425, the duties of my office require me to preside at all meetings of this lodge, require a strict compliance to the Constitution and general rules, that the business of this lodge may be conducted in a manner looking to the best interest of the Brotherhood of Railway Trainmen. Let each head bow with reverence to the Supreme Ruler of the universe, while the chaplain invokes a divine blessing.
Most holy and glorious Lord God, the great ruler of the universe.
The Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen has been greatly responsible for many improvements in our agreements, but many of our young men whom are coming into railroading today are stepping into this, and they think it's gravy, and they think it was given to them by the carriers and the companies.
There doesn't seem to be a great drive among the brothers. Nobody seems to have any interest in it.
The thing is, the guys themselves, they don't want to do anything. There's no drive.
They seem to be all stale.
They're too fat. Everybody's too fat.
The young men hiring out today have no realization of what in the hell has gone on before them. They don't care. They automatically think that they're entitled to these things. Well, you're not entitled to them. Somebody fought long and hard for these conditions. You should respect them.
The way a lot of the older guys talk, you'd think they own a union, and they don't. Sure, it was tough in the old days, and a lot of guys got killed to get where we are. But no good now talking about 50 years ago. The problems we've got today, we have to solve today. Griever, he says. What'd you call him that for? Why don't you call him shop steward, like in any other union? Well, sir, I says, we call him Griever because on the railroad he gets nothing but grief.
Is there any way we could get a footbridge put across there? Either that or we got to walk clear down the Freedom Station and back up around to line them switches over there.
Well, they sure don't want you crawling over cars. They preach safety. That's an unsafety practice.
It's an unsafe practice, but if you take time to walk down around, then you're killing time. You're not doing your job right.
Well, perhaps that's the answer then. Just take your time. The longer it takes, why, the better chance you got of solving your problem.
It's the only way I see to do it is just walk down around, because crawling over those trains is a hazard.
You ain't got no way knowing if we're going to start shoving or pull the track or what's going to happen.
You don't know. There's road engines on some of them trains when you crawl across them.
And if you get hurt, they'll hang you.
Stand for Griever? I said, what do you think? I got rocks in my head?
And some men will bring up new grievance every day. They're real geniuses when it comes to finding grievances.
Put in time and a half of the day that you're working, and then put an additional time for.
I'll tell you what I don't like. I don't like the amount of time it takes to get a grievance settled.
That's right. We got cases anywhere from 1 to more than 5 years old, but as long as they're pending before the Adjustment Board, we can't do anything but wait. I mean, under the Railway Labor Act, we can't even take a strike vote.
Something I think in the future that's got to be brought into B of RT contracts and hasn't been is the training of the head end brakeman. Here he goes making his first or second trip. He doesn't know where he's going, what he's going to do, he's just going. I had a student with me the other day, and he's been working for 3 weeks. The only signal that he knew was the sign to go and eat.
I think they're pulling some sharp practice on us. Our rest was up at 4:40, and they ordered that extra crew out at 4:15, 25 minutes before our rest. I don't think that's right, do you?
The laws are too complicated. You gotta have a local chairman who really knows his stuff. And even then you wait forever before the carriers give up anything.
You can't be president of the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen by sitting behind a desk in Cleveland, and you'd better not try. You've got to get out on the ground, find out what the complaints are, and try to do something about them. Being in there, if you can't, you try to send an officer in there to correct them. And it's nothing unusual for them to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll admit it's rather provoking, but I consider it part of my job.
So they go in for a raise on those kind of jobs on the annual pay that they make as a bricklayer, as a plumber, or as a carpenter. So we've got to go in on what our annual take-home pay is, or what our annual pay is. And there's no use kidding you. They don't bring the little checks in, they exhibit the big checks. And we've got some switchmen that, brother, they're making a fair-sized paycheck. I don't mind telling you.
Yeah, I'd like to get back on the issue, if I can, of safety. Now, safety in most of the yards that we have here in the Chicago region, particularly one at the 63rd Street yard there. Now, we had a lot of injuries over there. They pull off the right and clear areas, but they still haven't stopped the issue of accidents and that. They got one utility man, I think, on one trick. And he's supposed to cover all 42 tracks down there.
I'm also a member of the Safety Committee of Lots 225, and I've had many complaints from the brakemen and conductors that perform services there. And in between the tracks, the company does not clean up the rubble, and they do not clean up the various objects of debris. There's dung and all kinds of things that come out of stock cars. There's unsafe and slick conditions. Your field man, when he goes down there, is constantly like that. He won't even sprinkle sand or anything over it.
I would suggest this, and I used to do it myself. I would write him a letter and be on record with him. Tell him that someone could get seriously injured or killed. I'd write him a letter on the condition of the yard and tell him someone could get seriously injured or killed. And at the same time, I'd keep that record. If you give the dates and figures to your local chairman when this happens, I'm sure he can correct some of it. I'm sure of that.
Well, yes, I'd like to ask you one point-blank question. Do we have to go to work short-handed?
Well, I'm going to answer you like
yes or no?
I'll answer. Case, I'll give you the number of it. A man got up and said that he didn't have to go to work short-handed, and asked the general chairman that. He said, no, you don't. But they're going to fire you for it. Now, if you've got guts enough and time enough, we'll get you back and pay you for it. Now, you, me, or nobody can tell you they can't fire you. The only thing we can do if they fire you unjustly is make them pay you for it. Now, that's how simple it is.
Well, is it unjustly to go to work short-handed?
I'm telling you, you don't have to, but they'll fire you.
Well, you're the president.
I'm telling you.
Concrete statement, yes or no?
I told you.
You haven't said yes
I
or
said
no?
that you don't have to, but they'll fire you.
Huh?
They'll fire you for insubordination.
In other words, we have no backing from the
Yes,
union.
you do. You have backing for the union, but you also got laws, you got a Railroad Labor Act, and you've got court decisions that's already been decided on this.
Well, the only thing I know, if I was the president of the union, I would automatically tell my men what they had to do or wouldn't have to do.
I think I've told you what
Point blank. You told me I have to go to work.
I told you if you are got to go to work or get fired for insubordination. Now, can you hear it any plainer?
Right, go to work or get fired.
All right, now, let's face the issue. I don't care who you are or where you come from. It's never been a union in existence that can keep a company from firing a man. Never has yet. Because that's my job to keep up with it. But the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen has made them pay them for firing more men than any union in the United States. And I can back it up.
Amen.
We call it the fire hole. If you ever see it, you'll never forget it. But that's progress, I guess. Get rid of the old, make way for the new.
I believe the railroads are going through a big change, and eventually they will come back.
Between the government pushing and the Brotherhood pulling, maybe the railroads will get moved into the 20th century yet. The carriers may not care about passengers, but the government does, and the Brotherhood of Railroad Trainmen does. Now, if you'd asked me 5 years ago, I'd have said passenger had no future. Not today.
You think the railroads don't belong in the jet age? Take a look at that new turbo train.
When you look at the problems city people have getting to and from work and how the cities are growing, you can see a great future for passenger service. Seems like everybody can see it but the railroads.
They could compete with the airplanes if they wanted to, because there are a lot of people that don't like to ride planes, and there is a certain thrill about riding on a train.
Let's just put it this way, we're living better today than we're enjoying a better salary, we're enjoying better working conditions, better safety features, and they are trying to improve it all the time.
It's going to open up someday. The man in the future is going to have a lot better job than I got.
I think that is their goal, to improve our jobs, and they have. We come a long way, and we're still moving.